Hello. So we are moving on to our second lesson, our second set of notes with this lesson. What we talked about last set of notes was we were talking about different ways to measure central tendency. And central tendency means like where's the bulk of your information being funneled into. So we talked about mean, median, and mode as three different ways to measure central tendency. Mean is the mean thing. It asks you to add up all of the numbers and then divide by how many. It's really mean because it's a long process. Median is like the median in the road. So you're chopping off all the numbers until you get to the very, very middle number, or take the average of the two middle numbers. And then mode is the number that shows up the most. So example number 4 is an example that has you, that's an example that shows up a lot in terms of IB questions. When I look at IB questions that are on this type of data, this is a very common way that I have seen IB problems show up, where they give you a table of data, they ask you to talk about whether it's discrete or continuous, and then they want you to find a bunch of things. You can use your calculator for all of these. You should definitely have your calculator out next to you. You can see on my screen, I've got it right there to the side. All right, so we have a table of information. We have a number of visits and frequency, and asks us whether the data is discrete or continuous. I had to start this video recording and then restart it, so it's already circled, but this data is discrete. It's discrete because you are counting the number of visits that happen. You can't have half or a fourth of a visit. And so as a result, that means it is discrete. We're going to find the mode, the median, and the mean, and then determine which one's the most appropriate. So go to your calculator. We want to add a list or spreadsheet. And we're going to go, we have a table that looks, or a spreadsheet that looks like this. Now we have not had a table before where we have frequency, but that does not mean that you need to do 4 separate times on your list over here to the side. You can create a table that has number of visits. So for instance, we've got 0, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. And then next to it, you can put the frequency, just like what we do in a table anyway. Now that you've done that, we go along our normal path. We hit menu, we hit statistics, start calculations, one variable statistics, yes, number of lists. Here, our X list is A, like we did before. Our frequency list, instead of being 1, the fact that it was 1 there before was saying all of these happen once. Now we're going to say, actually, our frequency differs, and that frequency list is in B. We put it in the B column, so that's why we say that it's in B. Which means that I want my results to go into C. And so we get our results now. The mode, we just know. The mode is, you can see the highest frequency we have. Oh, the highest frequency we have is 12, and that occurs with 12 visits. So the mode is 12. The median, your calculator finds for you. You just have to go down to quarter 2 or median, and that is 10. And then your mean is also given to you, is at the very top. Remember that your mean is this X with a bar above it, and it is 8.94. Okay, so about 9. Which one is the most appropriate to use? I would say that the most appropriate to use would probably be somewhere around the median. While the median is not highly represented, most people are not within 2. It is very much in the middle of where all the data is happening here. And honestly, this question, which one is most appropriate? If you can feel like you back up your answer in a logical way, if you wanted to say that the mean was more appropriate because 9 seems to be more in the middle of the data, I think we could all agree that the mode is not the appropriate in this situation because the mode is so heavily skewed to one side, right? There's a lot of information down here that's really far away from 12, like 0, 4, 6. That's not even taken into consideration. And so I would say since the mode is so heavily not in the central point of the data, it is skewed. In this case, it's going to be skewed to the left because our highest bar is going to be on the right. It's going to look, if I were to make a really shady histogram of this data, it would look something like this. It would be a little bit skewed to the left because the tail is going to the left. And so if we were trying to think about whether the median, which is here, and the mean, which is slightly over here, and then the mode is right here, I would say that the median is the best representation because it seems to be more, it's the central of the central data, if that makes sense. Okay, we want to find the range and the interquartile range and comment on the spread of the data. So the range is how far apart all of the data is. And so that's not your frequency. You're talking about the number of visits. So how far apart? That's going to be 14 minus 0, which is 14. Your interquartile range deals with quarter 1 and quarter 3, and what's the distance between those two? So your interquartile range will always be quarter 3 minus quarter 1. And if we go back to this data in your calculator, you'll see that quarter 1 is 6, quarter 3 is 12, so it's going to be 12 minus 6, which means your interquartile range is 6. We don't really know what that means yet. We will talk about it very soon, but just know that your entire range of your data goes from 0 to 4, but around your mean, you've got, or around your median, your interquartile range is 6, which means 3 on either side of your median, which means a lot of your information lies within, if your mean is about 9, your median is 10, then that means that the interquartile range is going to be from like 7 to 13, 3 on either side of 10. And that's saying like, hey, most of your data is somewhere between 7 and 13.